indulge in those "I wish I could say that" moments, you're in luck because you've just pressed play on the top-rated teacher comedy podcast on the planet. It's time for Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. Here's your host, the teacher comedian himself, Devin Siebold.
Hey, Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. Hopefully you're listening to this on the podcast platform of your choice. We're available on everything pretty much. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. Also, we live stream the recording, which you might be watching right now as well on YouTube and Facebook, and you can interact with us on there as well. You can send stars, you can send super chats, you can do whatever you want to support the podcast. Also, patreon.com/crying in my car to support the podcast. It's only $2.99 a month, and you get a whole bunch of bonus perks, including I'm going to release some new ticket dates as well, and have a big announcement that's going to be on there. And there's a preview already up of the new video for this week. If you haven't seen it yet, well, that's because you're not on Patreon. You haven't seen the video because only they can see it right now until it's made public. So anyways, that's patreon.com/crying in my car for all that stuff. Now, I have a show coming up in just south, I believe, or north of Chicago, Watseka, Illinois. That is coming up next month. This weekend, I just added, if you're in the area, Friday, Saturday, I'm performing at Cocoa Beach at Gregory's Upstairs Comedy Club. Huh. I've got an old friend of mine, and if you listen to the podcast for a while, you probably know him, but I recruited Mr. Mike Lee to open for me. So it'll be Mike Lee, the old Crying in My Car duo is getting back together, and we're doing some shows over in Cocoa Beach, Florida. That's this Friday and Saturday. If you're a Patreon member, message me. I got the hookup for some free tickets. Also, don't forget I will be coming to Michigan coming up next month. I've got Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on the docket as well. And you can find more tickets and info at devincomedy.com. devincomedy.com. I also am updating my website. I just bought a new URL, by the way. It's coming. It's not up yet. Don't go there. It's literally going to give you a generic page. Classroomcomedian.com is going to be my new landing site, my new digs. I might move it over to Devin Comedy, but I just feel weird saying Devin Comedy. It just doesn't. People don't remember it, and sometimes people think it's with an O. So, hello, Miss Blosh over on YouTube. Yeah, I'm glad you're listening and watching. Now, I wanted to get into a topic that is actually quite relevant to the situation we're in right now. So, I went over to the new comedy club that Mike Lee is
it looks nice.
Yeah, is having. Now, here's the thing, man. I'll put this video up and I'll show you all because it was actually really cool. But we were walking around the club and then we went upstairs to check out this little office area that he has access to. And then we were coming downstairs and there was a little door on the wall. And I was like, oh, little John Malkovich thing we got going over here. And I was like, man, I can't open it. And he's like, well, I want to open it. He goes, we need to look and see. Hello, Jennifer Murray. We need to look and see that what's inside. He said, because it might be the water shut off. I need to know that for the club. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, if I ever have any plumbing issues. So anyways, we just pull on this door and it finally opens up. Now, all the buildings in downtown Winter Haven are ancient. And this thing, man, we opened it up and there's a huge gap in the wall and it's like so old. And I put my phone in there with the flashlight on and I was like recording it and showing like all the stuff that was behind the bricks and all, tons of dust and tons of like, building materials and the old wood that you can see that's like cracked and, whatever, nasty. And it got me thinking. And let me tell you this. So the building we have old, circuit breakers in the wall. Sometimes I look at things in the wall and there's little cracks here and there.
All right.
And it's old. Like even the windows sill is like an old wood. And a lot of the old building materials were not necessarily up to code, lead paint, asbestos, blah, blah, blah. And what I'm getting at, when it comes to teachers, a lot of these school buildings are old. I have worked in so many schools where you walk into a classroom and the first thing you smell is mold. and you go around and you see water damage on the roof, which equals, if you know anything about, building materials, mold. And then you go and they tear down they pull out these windows, and you see just, I mean, dust, like, but not you go, that's asbestos, or that's, insulation that's 50 years old. And I see a lot, and I hate to say this, but I see a lot of times when I Google, a teacher, I see a lot of teachers that are battling cancers, and, it's tumors and this and that, and they're young. But they've been teaching in this same school for like 20 years, and some of them have chronic illnesses. I've seen stories of teachers with chronic, debilitating illness due to mold. There was a story we did probably 2 years back on this show of a teacher that had to leave because mold was in her walls, and she's like, I can't work here. And instead of just getting rid of the mold and redoing the classroom, I mean, these kids are sitting in this class. Sure, they're coming and going. The teachers are working in there year after year after year after year. Kids go on to other schools, but I mean, is there not an urgency to rebuild these old schools? I mean, some of you texted me or shown me photos online of the school you teach in, and it looks, I mean, like Dead Poet Society, built in 1920. And we sit and we go, oh, how pretty, how nice. But we don't necessarily look at the foundations and the things that are going into building it, and the stuff that is in the walls and the air we breathe. And you don't know the air that circulates in here, it comes out that vent over there. Have you ever gotten up and looking in like that vent's not dirty, but other vents are,
Right.
and they're nasty. And what's in there? Is it are we breathing, mold spores and asbestos? And I worry.
A dead raccoon.
Yeah, but I mean, I see the stuff that's going on in there. Yeah, I am. I did quit teaching. Somebody asked online. Hello from Houston. Hello, Jeanette. We're live in India, by the way.
By the way, Jeanette, I hope you got sandbags, and y'all be safe there in Houston.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Southeast Texas. Man, they're getting pounded.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, it seems to me, and this is just what I'm saying here. This is the point I'm trying to make. If you were to take a existing schoolhouse and a developer came in and said, you know what, I want to turn that into apartments, would it be up to code? Would they step in and go, oh, people can't live here?
No,
They can't. We're going to do the inspection. Oh no, you can't have this. I mean, and I'm on TikTok, and I sometimes see like inspection videos and stuff like that. And I've never seen anybody inspect the walls at my school. I've never seen anybody come in and do a building inspection other than fire. But I taught in a classroom that for 7 years had missing ceiling tiles, exposed wiring, insulation hanging out of the ceiling in one of the corners because water had just busted through the ceiling. And they just come in and they put a new ceiling tile in there. And that's it. That's the solution. They don't look behind and see what's seeped into the wall. I don't know. I just sit there and I look so often at the conditions of these older schools, even the schools that my kids go to, even the school that my kids go to. I pull up, and the sign out front is covered in algae and mold. And we're in Florida. It's very humid,
Sign, yeah.
But some of these teachers teach in schools that don't have air conditioning, they leave the windows open all the time. I mean, what kind of environment is that creating? I don't know. I just feel like teachers are in a sick environment that we wouldn't even wish upon, somebody to live in. Or why is it okay for them to work in? And of course, what also gets me sometimes is, government officials wouldn't work in our buildings. You go to the district offices and they look great.
Yeah, and that doesn't make sense because think about it. People average live in their home. How many hours a day do you live in your home?
You sleep there. Some people work
but
there.
Think about it. If you're at a school, you're spending your other half of your time at the school.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes, I mean, at least 8 hours a day, but sometimes a lot more.
That's
hopefully
breathing 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And what are you breathing? I mean, and it was so funny to me. We had just pointless things that happened in my classroom. We had a central air conditioning. Did I ever tell you this story? Because this makes me laugh every time. We installed central AC in the school, but every single school left the old units on the wall, these giant old air conditioning units, huge air conditioning units that they used to be able to, you turn a dial and it would turn on and you get this pumping of air. One day, it was not like we were very uncomfortable. And I was like, you know what? Let me turn on the old AC unit, see if it even works. So we turned it on, and sure enough, it got cold. And I was like, oh, it's cold. Does anybody else taste aluminum?
Yeah.
And my students are like, yeah, I do too. I was like, the air's kind of dry all of a sudden and kind of tastes metally, right? And she's like, my students are like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, okay, we're turning this off. I was like, how many years did I just knock off my life by turning on an air conditioner has been turned on in 15 years?
Like breathing the inside of a refrigerator that'd been closed for years.
Yeah, but that's what it was. But the thing that always got me, I thought was hysterical, is every single month, a guy from the county would walk into the classroom and walk straight to the back, open up the air conditioning unit, and pull out the filter of the air conditioning unit that we no longer use. We have central AC. He would pull out the filter that was obviously crystal clear clean, not a drop of dust on this thing. And he would roll it up, throw it into a trash bag, and put a new filter in every month.
Did you tell him
8 years that I worked there?
This doesn't work. We've never turned it on. Why are you changing?
Do you know
filter?
how much that costs taxpayers to replace all the filters in that building? And I'll call them out.
Yeah.
I'll call them out. Haines City High School. Yeah, that's where I worked.
Yeah.
Haines City High School. What are you doing in terms of replacing these stupid filters? Do you know how much money that costs us as taxpayers and how pointless it is? I mean, it was every month they would come in and change the air filters in an air conditioning unit that never ran. It made zero sense. It was a 20, 30-year-old air conditioning unit.
That's ridiculous.
But again, once you ran it, it was terrible. But then this is the thing also that you need to think about. That air conditioning unit was built into the wall. What's it connected to?
The wiring in the building.
Yeah, but what also is it connected to? I mean, it's got a drain. Where's that drain? It's got a vent. Where's that vent? Outside. It all goes outside. These rooms have these old air conditioning units they can't seal off. First off, now you have an air conditioning unit that isn't even sealing off the outside, and it has leaky pipes that you once used that are no longer. Take them out. Get the thing out of the classroom. A, it's taking up an enormous amount of space. I could fit 3 or 4 tables where this huge old air conditioning unit was, and B, I mean, it's just sitting there and it's got all this stuff in it. Who knows? I mean, honestly, I just think all the time about like what it must look like inside of that thing. It's got to be covered in, old water and mold, and they leak, and they've got, I don't know.
If you breathed it, chances are you're immune to COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I just never understood there were so many things that when I was teaching, I was like, why are we doing this? But also, when I was in the classroom, I did feel weird. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel like the air was good quality. And everywhere you walked, it was different smells. This building just smelled damp. This building just smelled old, and the paint's chipping off the walls. And what do? Paint over it. Just let's paint over this old paint. And it's
there's some lead, there's some lead paint in there somewhere.
Maybe. I don't know.
How old is that building?
Oh, I don't know. It was built in the 60s, I think, maybe even earlier.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say, I remember
but all of them
it was pretty old.
All of them are. All the buildings, all the old school buildings.
Lake Region's fairly new.
It's fairly new.
90s, wasn't it?
Probably. I don't know. But I just look, it is mold. That's what I said. You got some nice spores and asbestos exposure. That's the aluminum taste. That's mold. See, I knew it. Nathan knows what he's talking about. Good night.
Now you're gonna experience mesothelioma.
I'll tell you right now, if I'm exposed, I know who to call. That's what I'm saying. But hopefully they're listening to this and they replace those ACs. I would much rather get something and not be able to prove it because everybody in school is now protected and they ditched them, than get something and be able to prove it because there's still more kids being exposed. And some of the teachers did run them, and they would only run them to counter the air conditioning because it'd be too cold. So then they're running the heat on the old air conditioning unit, and the heat is pumping into the air to stop the air conditioning unit from being too cold, which, by the way, does the exact opposite. It makes it colder in everybody else's room because now you're pumping heat in there and it can't reach the temperature that it was supposed to be set at. I just, there's so many things that I just want to sit and go, okay, what are we doing here? You know, like what, but we need somebody. We need somebody to do that. We have a Department of Education. We have these school systems, and they walk through classes. You know, the superintendent will walk through the school twice a year. These are your schools. And what do? They go into the best classrooms that the principal directs them into, that knows their stuff on the wall.
This is the one that we just put all the cool stuff
Hey,
in.
let's go check over, we got human space sciences or whatever, earth space sciences. Let's go check out that human geography. And they walk in, and there's the A+ teacher in the really nice part of the wing. You know what I've never seen? I've never seen a superintendent or a district official walk out to the portable that has the broken air conditioning unit that's leaning to one side, has a pool of moldy water standing by the staircase because the air conditioning unit drains by the stairs for some freaking insane reason into a giant pipe of and the bathroom doesn't work because the bathroom's never hooked up, because it was supposed to be temporary, yet 10 years later it's still sitting there.
The school needs a good tornado.
But that's not, but this is the thing, it's not that school, it's all the schools. It's literally all of them. All of them. Go, just drive outside and go to a school, any school in this county, and you'll find portables that are derelict and neglect, and they're the barely insulated, and they just wire a pole out there and hook them up, and they never hook the plumbing up. These things are supposed to have restrooms. These kids got to walk. And what does it do every single day? It pours down rain.
Yeah,
you know, these
now
kids can't walk and go to the restroom. You're exposing them now to
pneumonia and bad cold. And
I didn't come in here to be angry, guys. I didn't come in here to be mad. I came in here to make people laugh. But my thing was, as I was reading, I got a story that I want to talk about in just a second. And it was a teacher, again, who had cancer. And I always see these teachers that had cancer, and they teach for, 15, 20 years. And you go by the school, and the school's fallen to pieces and, riddled with code violations, and nobody says anything. I don't know. It just blows my mind. And even with everything's set on schedules too, the painting. Our school got painted once every 10 years. Because that was what it was. But 7 years in, it needs painted. But we got to wait 3 more years. Why? Why do we have to wait 3 more years to get it painted when it needs it clearly right now?
This sounds like an ISSD hall kind of thing.
I know, but the thing is,
Saturday school. Hey, come on in. We got some projects.
Nobody questions these ridiculous time constraints. And, every month you got to go change the filters. Nobody says, well, what if the filters don't need changed? Oh, well, back them up, throw them away anyways. It's your responsibility. It's what we do. It's that's the protocol. There's too many protocols and bureaucracy within school systems that there's no common sense. Sometimes people need common sense to override this stuff and go, hey, so the school needs painted? Right. We normally paint them once every 10 years. How long has it been? 7 years. Okay. All right. Well, it definitely needs a coat. So let's go ahead and let's paint it.
Let's knock it out now and then use that money later.
Let's just go ahead and paint it. Just don't leave it looking like that.
There's a ton of inmates out there in the summer that could be like, hey, work release. I mean, they work for the county, do they not?
Yeah.
If you're an inmate and you're doing the work program to be a trustee, how about, hey, let's get them some buckets of paint and let's do these schools in the summertime when they're closed.
Yeah. Somebody said in our district, they put brand new buildings in that are already too small. They filmed the opening of the school in where the desks had space, not the school where the 4 kids were facing each other. That's it. It's all about the aesthetics and what it looks like. And I don't know. Again, very frustrating. Very frustrating. Lots of frustrating stuff within the school system. But the thing is, I'm not really as frustrated at the system as I am the fact that it's hurting teachers.
Yeah.
You don't want teachers to have to deal with that kind of stuff, and kids. And this is the thing, and I'm going to say this one time, but I mean it. Drive to any school in this area, and they're They've got the portables. They've got the mold. They've got the leaks. They've got the holes in the wall.
Yeah.
Go to West Palm Beach. Go to a rich area. Go to a wealthy school district. You think you're going to see that? You think a lawyer is going to walk his kid into a classroom and see a hole in the ceiling and go, oh, yeah, that's fine. No, they're going to get it corrected. They're going to fix it. It's brand new schools. Really nice, everything. But that's the thing is these Title I schools, we're neglecting poor kids. And we're saying, hey, you have the same opportunities, even though the ceiling tile is falling on your head and, the roof's leaking and there's your desk is falling apart. And every time you lean back in the plastic chair, it pinches you and grabs you because it's broke, because it's 30 years old. Do you realize that all the plastic in the classrooms is supposed to be discarded? That plastic that's used in the seats is the same plastic that's used in car seats. You know that car seats have a 5-year life because car seats plastic gets brittle and breaks apart. Same with the school desk, but we keep the school desk anyways when they break and they have cracks in them and they pinch the kids and they can't sit straight. And I don't know. I sit and I look at the whole system and it definitely favors rich. It favors wealthy by far. Even non-private though. Even non-private it favors. Because you go to a wealthy school district and it's nice. It's very nice. I've gone to them. I've spoke at them and I go, wow, nice. And then I go back to, and I'm like, wow, what's going on? Can't we redistribute a little bit of money, figure this out, get a better, education out of these kids and give them better opportunities? Which doesn't make sense. Bureaucracy and maintenance, not good. You're right, Nathan. All right, time for a little bit of teachers in the news. So let's do a little bit of teachers in the news. How about that? Hold on. I got to switch this. I got to get it over here. All right, teachers in the news.
From classrooms to chaos, we searched high and low for the craziest teacher stories this week. Here are your teachers in the news.
By the way, my coffee is much better now. I don't know why, but today they had actually good coffee. Normally this place is trash.
I know. I've been hearing mixed reviews, but I'll never give up on Dave. Dave has been consistent to me for a better part of 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Richard's Coffee.
All right. Now, first thing about teachers in the news we're going to jump into. Let's go into the one I was just talking about because it kind of leads in. A 9-year-old farmer is raising money to help his teacher battling brain cancer. Little Bub's Homestead in Graytown, Ohio. He's a 9-year-old farmer, and boy, this kid has a great head on his shoulders because it says that his front lawn, Little Bub's Homestead, has been open for business the last 2 seasons. Last year, he used his earnings to purchase cattle and donated the meat to a food pantry.
Wait, 9?
He's 9.
Okay.
So he was 8 last year. Last year, Braxton, spelled just the way you think, Braxtyn. Gotta love the millennial, or not millennial, goodness. What is this kid? The new names, I don't know what the new next generation is, generation talk. So anyways, last year, Braxton used his earnings to purchase cattle, donated the meat to a food pantry. This year, using all of his profit to donate to his 2nd grade teacher battling stage 4 glioblastoma. I think that's how you say it. Anyways, amazing. So he's really, stepping up and helping out. And it says it's a lot of work, but he's going to, help out. And he sold 173 mums, which are a bunch of pumpkins. And they sold,
No,
what are mums?
Mum's a flower.
Oh, mums. He sold a bunch of pumpkins as well and also sold raffle tickets. And in the end, gave it all to his teacher. That's huge. And they kept the number private out of respect for the family. Even better. I mean, goodness, this kid has got a good head on his shoulders. So it's good to see this kind of stuff happening. But shout out to Little Bubs if you're in the area, Graytown, Ohio. Little Bubs Homestead. Looks like he's still selling stuff out there, trying to raise some money. Good on that person. Good on them. All right. Here's an interesting one, and I don't know. I'm not really as outraged by this one as I thought I might be. There is a San Diego public school library that has abandoned its system of overdue fees. You go to a library, you rent a book, you get fees. I've had fees before. I've rented stuff from the Winter Haven library here and had to pay $5-6 to rent another something. Anyways, there was a teacher This teacher apparently in late 2019 checked out 40 books on ancient civilization for her students, which I didn't even think you could check out 40 books. I thought it was like 3 books maximum,
Right.
you know? Anyways, 6th grade class, late 2019, 40 books. She says the library's multiple late notices that were sent to her email came and went undetected. So maybe went to spam, wasn't there. But she still has 40 books, you know? This turns out the library itself does not have late fees, but they don't just let you keep the book. Obviously,
Right.
they have a replacement fee. So after her not returning these books for several months, they sent her a bill, $1,300 replacement fee for the books. Okay, she said, "Oh my goodness, $1,300 for these books! I got to get these books back." In March 2020, what happened? COVID. So the library system shut down. So obviously there's no collection, no anything. She can't return them. Fast forward, library reopens. She returns the books. No problem, right? Wrong. She returned the books. Well, it had already gone to collections. They said after a month of collecting on it, they just send it to an outside company. And obviously they write it off. Well, even though she returned the books, she still owes the $1,400.
Wow. Well, then she should get them.
Well,
damn
she owes
books back.
$1,300. Now they're adding interest. You know, so it says in the end she owes over $1,400, and they said the library system when they reached out for comment said, sorry, we don't. She has $1,426 in fines.
Okay, then they need to give her them damn books back.
And the interesting thing is that
if they wrote them off, those are her books now.
Well, this is I would say so, but I don't know. I really honestly don't know. But anyways, she chose to pay the fine. She did pay the $1,426 fine up front, one payment. She said because apparently if she went on the 12-month payment plan that they do have for
been like $2,000.
No, it said that the plan would damage her credit. So it actually put it on her credit as a debt that she's making payments
over
on.
some books.
Over some books.
She might want to refinancing.
Refinance the books. But anyways, the treasurer of the city's municipal code says it's out of our hands. There's no way to waive the replacement fee. The materials for the materials the library already had back, even though they had them. So yeah, crazy, man, crazy. Apparently though, this is an interesting number. Okay, do you have a calculator on your phone?
Yeah, I do.
Do 3% of 7,444. 7,444 times 0.03. Hey Brady, thanks for listening to the live stream, checking it out. So 7,444 times 0.03. What is it?
Hold on. I got the little screen up too. Hold on.
Take your time, buddy.
No, I had to move everything around. 7,444 times 0.03.
Uh-huh.
That's $223.
Okay.
2 cents.
No, that's 223 accounts. It says there are 223 accounts that have been put into collection since the no fine policy of people that just kept the book. So, you know, they're making a little bit of bank off that. You know, I don't know. I'd rather have the late fees, to be honest with you, because you can at least return them and get the late fees waived. But I guess after a certain amount of time, I hate to tell her this. I know that, you know, it's COVID, this and that. But if you check the books out and several months later, you still haven't returned them back.
40 books, though. That's a little too much, man.
She's got a lot of books there.
I'm like.
Hold on one second. I got to connect right back to the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi went unstable for just a second. Hopefully we're back. But anyways, sorry about that. The Wi-Fi is working. All right, there we go. It's back on. Sorry, we're in an old building with old wires. The building's talking back to us. It's like, thanks.
The computers and the internet's got mold.
Yeah. So thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're back up. So yeah, $1,400 in fines. I don't know. Again, I kind of feel bad for her, and then I don't. But then I look at this. So she's in California, in the Bay Area. Well, also, this other article popped up in the Bay Area. Teachers are struggling to make ends meet because of rising home prices. Obviously, the home prices, and I can attest to that here, the home prices are getting outrageous. You know, you got to make a lot of money, and teachers' pay is not going up. And apparently, it says Bay Area teachers would have roughly $225 a month after living expenses if they had a mortgage on a medium-priced home. The study found, if just with the mortgage, they would have $225 a month left over for living expenses. So basically, 2 bills. You know, no gas. Things aren't factored in there. So if you had a teacher salary in the Bay Area and purchased a medium-priced home, median right in the middle, and got a full mortgage, $225 left over. And that's the thing; they actually pay them pretty good in that area. It's kind of going a little crazy. And I don't know. The median home price in San Jose, get this, $1.2 million. The median salary for a teacher is $90,000. Mortgage payments on a Silicon Valley home would leave a teacher with $2,700 left for all living expenses and all groceries for the entire year. $2,700. The typical U.S. teacher would buy a home and have more than 10 times the disposable income, the typical U.S. teacher, than a homeowning peer in San Jose. I don't believe that. I really don't. It says a typical U.S. teacher could buy a home and have 10 times the disposable income. So we have $27,000 left over. No, absolutely not. Not where I live. I mean, I don't think these teachers are making us that much money. Again, I'm from Florida. It's one of the lowest paid, but it says that, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. San Francisco and East Bay have a median income of $85,000. See, we make half that. I mean, really, honestly, that's half the rate that we're making in Florida. And yet our prices here in Florida for the homes are going up.
Dude,
way
my
up.
house has already gained like $5,000 equity.
Sell it.
And I've only had it for 2 months.
Yeah, take that $5,000. All right. Got another sad story. And I just wanted to say that this one, all these. Okay, so let me tell you, and I went on this tangent last week. I'm not going to go on the tangent this week. I'm just going to say, Google the word teacher and click on news. Get out of your bubble and look at it on a national level. In certain counties in Georgia, over 24 teachers have died already. In the South, we're having literally just teacher death. Locally here, we got one on a ventilator, and 2 more that died. But another elementary school teacher, looking at this one, Madison County, younger than me. Doesn't look, out of shape, looks, like a pretty, healthy, fit individual, died,
Sad.
COVID. And it's just, it's senseless deaths. These, and the thing that stuck out about this article to me is they interviewed the kids. And that's what I hate, man. The kids are like, that was my favorite teacher. I love that teacher. And these kids shouldn't have to be dealing with this kind of grief and anguish. I mean, we sit here and we go, what kind of problems are these kids going to have after wearing a mask all year? I don't know. What kind of problems are they going to have when their teacher doesn't come in because they died?
Yeah. Your year's already done. I never had a teacher that passed away but I know it's happened where I come from, but like I never walked in, I remember one teacher, I guess, broke her arm or broke her leg or something. So I had a substitute for like 6 weeks. And she was a fun substitute, but when we got our regular teacher back, we were like, yes.
Right.
But I couldn't imagine
not coming back.
Yeah, because your school year's ruined. No matter what you do, no matter how much Oregon Trail you play or have the fun recess days or whatever, nothing's going to change that.
I know. And you look back in the yearbook, I'm sure they're going to put her picture in there and stuff. And it's just like, these kids to process death at that young of age. I mean, damn, my son, the hamster, passed away when I was watching it. And, to see him go through the stages of grief and sadness and everything. And he's 6. And I was like, ugh, it's a hamster, imagine somebody that and trust and love, and these kids, they have an attachment to teachers, especially at elementary age. That's when you love your teachers. I mean, that becomes an extra parent at that age. There's somebody you just look forward to seeing them, and then they're dead, and what do you do? I don't know.
Here's the thing is that used to, like if my hometown, if like somebody died during the school year, usually that yearbook got dedicated to them, you know? Now it's just going to be like a whole, like 2 or 3 pages of, you know, memorials.
Yeah.
You got to think about it, man. I've never seen nothing like this. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. What am I reading here? I don't. Goodness, this is not good. Apparently, this is one of the class, and this is the kind of crap. Oh my god, this makes me mad. So this is apparently a student's quote from that class. For her family, I want to say I'm very sorry for you all, and just know that when somebody has to go, they have to go, and God bless you all. When somebody has to go, they have to go. That's not a good mentality for a child. That's a parent telling them that, hey, it's just their time. No, it's not just their time. Stop pushing that bull crap on the kids. It's not just their time. This is preventable, people.
Preventable.
This is preventable. It's just their time. When they have to go, they have to go. These kids, then they're going to have no, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'll get too upset with that. All right. Last one. This is an interesting one. This is kind of off the COVID topic, but how my high school history classes failed me. This is a pretty interesting article. I'll post the link in the comments right now. But you know, the apparently James Lowen, or you may have read his book, Lies My Teacher Told Me, Everything Your American History Textbook Got Wrong. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't.
I have heard of it.
But yeah, anyways, he died. And apparently one of these, the guy that wrote this had him as a mentor, and met him, you know, quite a while back. And apparently was really, you know, kind of awakened by this lies my history teacher told me, and said that history education isn't just a dry list of names and dates to memorize. It's the space where national identities are formed and myths that spoke pride into patriotism became etched into people's consciousness. It's often bred inaccuracies that cast some communities as civilized and others as primitive. That is a really interesting paragraph in this topic, but you know, a lot of times we sit here and we read history, we hear things, we repeat things, and it's not true. It's not accurate, or it's being told in a different, you know, it's being told in a light that we want it to be told. You know, a case in point, obviously, is one Christopher Columbus, where you sit here and you go, "Oh yeah, he landed. He brought you know, turkey and corn, and they had a great time and ate a feast, and everybody lived happily together, and the Indians were welcoming, and they were welcoming, and everything was blissful peace." And you know, then he went home and told his, you know, people, and they came back, and everybody greeted everybody, and it lived. That's what you thought. That's what I thought as a kid. We made a damn song about it.
1492, sail the ocean blue.
Yeah, so then you start to learn the realness of it, and people are so resistant to that because it's not what they've been told their entire life. And I just want to touch on this. So it's an interesting article. You should read it. But it also is so relevant to what I see all the time and what I hear all the time. As you know, and I've said this before on the radio show, I listen to old time radio in the car. I listen to it all the time. And let me tell you right now, the stuff that they tell you on there is what your grandparents grew up listening to in the 40s and 50s. And it is so one-sided. And it is so just really reflective of what, you know, why we're fighting these battles we are today with these older politicians, older people than in government that refuse to back down on this stuff and believe that this is the way. It's because that's what they were raised and told over and over again. They were indoctrinated by this stuff where, you know, and again, it's even innocent stuff. I was listening to the radio. There was a whole program about how women can't drive. You know, women can't drive, women this, women that, women are, you know, in the home, women, you know, it's your job, Doris. There's literally radio stations I've been listening to of the old time radio where the man slaps the woman to put her in line, to correct her.
I know.
To make it into a you know, you are subservient to me, the man. And you see that rhetoric with the people that grew up listening to this and watching it on TV. And, you know, there was a brief moment where Lucille Ball, I think, kind of changed the game, much more groundbreaking than just the comedy, where she put the woman as the focal figure in the household with, you know, a job and some command of her career and choices.
Some of that was, I will disagree on a little bit of that. My grandmother went and welded ships during World War II, she
Mhm.
was a Rosie the Riveter. And so like the women getting fed up with being put in their place, and those women kind of started a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Now I listen to 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I will say the 30s and 40s stuff is a little bit different than the 50s. 50s and early 60s radio is also what I listen to, and we do start to see a little bit of an independence starting to come about. But excuse me. Most of the stuff that I also hear, he says the patriotism. There's very heavy patriotism, but also very anti-Asian sentiment. Very,
Right.
very, very anti-Asian sentiment. Also, there was a lot of minstrel type portrayals of African Americans on the radio that painted them as uneducated, that painted them as needing white people and serving white people,
like the crows
and,
from Dumbo.
but that's exactly what it was on the
Yeah.
radio. And a lot of it is reflective of what we're seeing in the older culture and what they've been, grew up listening to, and they grew up hearing it from their parents. And they grew up, everybody sat around the radio. Everybody sat and listened. It was national, CBS broadcasting systems. And you just hear these things and you think it's okay. And yet when you grow up and things start to correct and check, you go, that's not true. I grew up with that. That's why, I mean, and the funny thing is I say here, and let me tell you this. I get it. And the only reason I get it is because I grew up thinking it was the Berenstain Bears. It is the Berenstain Bears, STAIN, not STEIN. And we say Mandela effect, sorry, that it's something that's gone, but we actively fight this. Sinbad was never a genie in a movie, but we actively fight it because it's what we believe. We refuse to acknowledge that our history and our idea of it was ever wrong or misconstrued or incorrect, or we thought or imagined something that wasn't true.
Right.
And ours are innocent things like that, but sometimes people just close themselves off and they go, I'm never going to believe anything different than what you're telling me. And I don't think that that's right. We should be open-minded. We should listen to.
But being progressive is not a bad thing. I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I hate progressive, and I get it. There's a lot of things that like people are scared of change, and change is good for everybody. Sometimes change is not good for everybody. Like, for instance, I'm old school, and like when I started seeing people with those giant, spacers in their earlobes, I was just like, oh God, that's, and now it's so normal. I'm like, just same thing with girls, turning their hair blue and purple and
we
coming
don't
to work.
Like change. Literally, most people. It's just I like this and I like that, but
there's just so much hardcore conservatism that people don't want to move forward. When we're going to move forward no matter what. And my argument with a lot of people about the vaccine is that, oh, it's not proven. I'm like, look how far we've come in technology altogether. We haven't even had TVs for 100 years yet.
Right.
And now they're getting bigger. They're getting thinner.
Well, we're getting close. That's the sad part. Sometimes I look at that and I go, wait a minute. 1921 was 100 years ago. Oh my goodness.
No, my thing is like, I'm ready for holograms, like they had I want everything to be Star Wars. Where's my flying car?
Right.
But at the same time, I just want people to try to trust science for once. Just, hey, I mean, I do have it in my joke, like, hey, we can send remote control cars to Mars. We can do all this amazing technology. Yet when I have to have my prostate checked, there's no advanced like Ray or science or scan.
There is. They just enjoy it.
Yeah. Exactly. Here comes Dr. Jellyfinger.
But some people have asked online, where are you able to listen to these old shows? They're all over Apple, Google Play, iHeartRadio. If you want to listen in, if you want to watch, we have probably the past like 6 months or so of videos on my YouTube, and you just can click on my channel, click on the playlist, and there's actually a Crying in My Car playlist of these videos. Now this one's live.
The old shows that they're talking about are like where can I find those shows?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dang it. I thought they were interested in our podcast.
Well, that too.
But anyways, so if you're interested in listening to the old shows, there's two ways you can do it. Sirius Satellite Radio has the old ones, but also there's a website called When Radio Was, And you can go on your podcast and just type in old time radio, and there's so many old broadcasts of things. Now I'm talking, old broadcasts that I listen to a lot of detective shows. I listen to a lot of variety shows, the old Bob Hope and stuff like that. And, you hear just a lot of things. Even Bob Hope ended his, do you know what Bob Hope ended his shows with? And I don't, the people online, I'm sure know this. Do you know?
He putted a 15-foot
No,
birdie.
you don't know what he ended his shows with every time? And it kind of pushed into the Christian narrative of the nation.
The kiss goodnight.
A family that prays together
stays
together. You say every night, God bless America, 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 family prays together, stays together. And then we see as we grow older, these older generations, they value two things very heavily: patriotism and God. And that's fine. That's what they want to value. That's okay. That's acceptable. But it shouldn't be the end all. You should be able to go, okay, patriotism, but also equality matters a little bit too.
Yeah,
maybe
patriotism
I can be proud of my country offering more.
Patriotism also should be the recognition of patriotism. When somebody gay or transgender or somebody that's different wants to join the military and fight for their country. Everybody, and that's my other argument sometimes on the other side of that coin, is I don't care what your gender is, what your orientation is, man, female, whatever. If you want to fight for this country, you have the right to. It shouldn't matter what you're, back in the day, my uncle, he got in a lot of trouble, and the judge told him, hey, you have two choices. You can go fight in World War II, or you could go to jail. And he chose World War II.
Oh, okay. So, somebody asked, Nathan asked, what's your favorite show on there? I love Johnny Dollar. Johnny Dollar is great. And I'm a big fan of Dimension X, the early episodes, because they're all kind of sci-fi-esque, and you see the beginnings, you see the beginnings of the Star Trek, and then there's another one that I'm a really big fan of, but some of them are terrible. And that's called Escape. Escape was kind of this like afternoon escape, and they would have these stories of fantasy. Some of them were great, looking for pirate treasure, and yellow fever is striking the whole crew, and then they start, rebelling against each other. Those are great. Some of them you just go, what in the world? Why did I waste 20 minutes listening to this stupid story?
There's people back then like holding the paper and they're reading and they're looking at it.
I'm always so amazed that they're live audiences, a lot of them, and the sound effects are so on point, and the voices and the voice inflection. I mean, they had to practice obviously a lot for some of these, but I always think it's incredible the way they would do that. Also, a little side note, and I love talking about this stuff, but I know y'all some boomers, not a boomer. Listen to it. There's some really good, clip. There's some really good stuff out there. But anyways, I'll direct you to some in a little bit, but there's one on there that I was listening to what I was getting, I got sidetracked when I was reading some of the comments. What I was getting at is, how like we had Johnny Carson, and we have today Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel. If a celebrity has a new movie coming out, they do the rounds. They get on the late night and they talk about it, and they get on the talk shows, and they're on Ellen and they're pitching it and whatever. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have that in the 40s, 30s, but new movies were coming out. Do you know how they advertised it?
During World War II clips?
No, they would act. They would actually work to advertise their work. So they would say, tonight's version of Escape, we have Damon Williams, who will be playing the part of Buster. And they go, Damon is currently starring in Paramount Pictures' brand new film. And then they would, and so he would act. And every single time they would act, and they would tell them, hey, he's also starring in this film, and this film just came out with Buster Keaton and, Diane Kelly or whatever. And but every single time they would like work for it, and they would even kind of talk about it a little bit at the end, but there was no talk shows. So the only way they could advertise their show was to get on other shows and act on those shows, and sometimes they were great, sometimes they were terrible.
By the way, I resent that boomers comment. Kid, I'm gonna tell you right now, I was in the mosh pits of Pantera in the 90s. There's nothing about me that is even remotely boomer.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really gonna take too much directive from somebody whose username is the Roach Clip. So, anyways, it's over on YouTube.
The Roach Clip.
The Roach Clip. So, all right, now, this, by the way, next week, tune in to Crying in My Car. I have an amazing interview that is going to be coming up that you're not going to want to miss. I've recorded the interview. It's great. I'm not putting it on this episode. I'll put it on the next episode because we wanted to go live with this one. So be sure to tune into that next week. Like I said, I have shows all over the place. I'm going to be just near Chicago, Watsika, Illinois in October. Got shows in Michigan, Myrtle Beach, Cocoa Beach this weekend, Cocoa Beach, Florida. I'll be in the Villages. I'll be in Orlando, Ocala. What do you got, buddy?
I've got the Villages.
Oh, Miami too.
I got the Villages coming up. I've got Margaritaville coming up. I've got Fassel Mallet coming up in January. I've got a couple of things coming up in December, and I've got a bunch of new TikToks coming out, new videos in the science of bartending. If you haven't checked them out, go to my Facebook page. They are very good.
Go to TikTok too.
Yeah.
Find the Angry Texan.
Yeah, the Angry
TikTok.
Texan.
I'm on TikTok. I've got a lot of videos on TikTok.
The real Angry Texan.
Right. If you're on YouTube and you're watching me and you love my videos and you're a big fan or whatever, TikTok, I have so many extra video clips that I've just started posting. Brand new video, by the way, comes out today. When you see the videos, share them. Like them, share them. It does help get it out there. And yeah, you can go to the bathroom. Mr. Magic School Bus just asked if this was Mr. Siebold. Yes, it is. Just the way y'all sounds like boomers. Yeah, right. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we sound a little bit older, dude. Just I'm laid back, man. You know, I'm gonna go and get my medical pen here in a minute and have a good lunch. You know, I mean, I'm a little bit older and cooler.
I'm gonna go check the stock market and see if those Krauts have a, I don't know.
Hold on, I gotta go telegraph my girl and see if it's okay if I bring her Lunchables.
Right. Let me go hit Morse code. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, thanks so much, obviously, for supporting it. We appreciate you. Thank you all. And obviously, rate it 5 stars. Subscribe. Patreon.com/cryinginmycar 2 for bonus episodes. All right, folks, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I hope this is the outro. I don't know if it is, but we're going to go with it. Anyways, thanks again for supporting the podcast.
Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast 5 stars. Submit all your awesome teacher stories to cryinginmycar@gmail.com and check out Devin on tour. Info and merch can be found at devincomedy.com. Support the podcast on patreon.com/cryinginmycar and get exclusive weekly bonus episodes. And tune in every week for more hilarious stress relief for teachers right here on Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers.